Hi, I'm Lars. Welcome back to the C# workshop. This video will cover how to work with and manipulate files and directories. If you're looking for information on reading and writing files, I have a video coming up on the variety of ways you can read and write files. Okay? This video is more about how to manipulate files, like create them, move them, copy them, and directories, as in create them and move them. And every developer should know how this is done programmatically. There are just too many developers in today's IT that are content with just manually doing these processes whenever they need it to be done. Say you have a job that you want to run every night at midnight. This is the video you need to know how to copy those files properly. Alright? So if you want to learn a new tool, let's get to it.
What is a file? A file is a physical entity, and it is also a class in System.io. A file class has a lot of methods that allow a developer to manipulate the physical file, even the attributes like read-only and hidden. Directory is a sister class of file, and it has similar methods and some others like GetFiles and GetDirectories. Path is another class that can get a path for a file name and is used to make path creation easy. I'm only going to cover the use most attributes and methods in this video. If you're having issues with another one, please mention it in the comments and I will get you the information on it. I'm going to start off with the path class. It is a static class, meaning you cannot instantiate it. The path class has 7 methods that are used most often: combine, exist, get full path, get path root, get file name, get extension, and get file name without extension. So let's start looking at this in code. All right, this video is going to be no different than any of the other videos that I've done. We're using a program CS file and a console application, and we're going to host a service called worker, which is just a class that's in the same which is a class that is in the same project. It does not need to be in the same project, but it is. The path.combine is one of the most common used methods for path. And what it does is it assembles your path for your directory. Each one of these I call nodes, and this would be your root node, and then there's a YouTube node and the Lars C# workshop node. You don't need to put these all in broken apart like this. You could put in 2 wax to signify that you want D YouTube. This could have all been put together. There's many ways to do this. I just wanted to show you that this is how it works. It's endless on how many nodes you can put in. So if we run this down to this part where set directory is at, you're going to see that the output put that path that we just assembled all together, and it's now in the path variable which we just displayed. This path is the same path that is setting right here. It's the exact same path. I've got the path sitting down here in the watch with the escaped out backslashes. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set the current directory. The current directory, which we'll get into in a minute in the next section with directory, but this will set the current directory to that path. This makes things a lot easier when you're trying to load files and whatnot. The next thing we're going to look at is, again, the combine, and this will take the path that's at the top and we're going to add text file to it. Textfile.txt. If you look here in the watch, you will see that it's set to null at the moment. Once we hit that, you'll see textfile.txt is the only thing that got added. The next method is exists, and it's going to take this entire file path and it's going to check to see whether it exists, and you will see true pop up right here. Exists is true. The next one is getting the full path. So if we just put a file name in for textfile text, I had an O1 in there for some reason. For textfile.txt, we will get the entire full path back. As you can see, we got the right manipulation data textfile.txt. The get path root will return just the D : /. The get file name for the path will just return the textfile.txt, and get extension will just return .txt. If we put in here get file name without extension, then you'll just get text file with no txt. These are all things that are very useful when writing an application that you're going to be manipulating files with in directories. So let's continue now with directory. And that methods that are in it that we're going to talk about is get current directory, set current directory, exist, get directory root, create directory, delete, move, get files, and get directories. We can also change a directory, and it will stay on the current directory for the life of the application. And the way we do this is we're going to put in this current directory, get current directory, so we can see that what we got. So when we run this, you'll see first thing you're going to see is where we are currently at, which is the bin debug net 9.0. And then we're going to set the current directory. And we're going to set that current directory, but you won't see a change here until you actually get the current directory again. So the new one is much shorter. It's in data. All right. So we're back to the data directory that we have right here. Now we can get some more information about the current directory. So the current directory should be manipulation data, which is down here, which is this one. So does the current directory exist? We can call get directory root to get the root, which will be D. We can create a new directory called new folder, and we can check to see does that exist. We can delete the directory, and then we can see does it exist, and it would say false. So now instead of deleting the directory, say we wanted to change the directory name from new folder to new folder name. You do this with a move. There is no rename method inside of directory. So here you're going to see that the new folder does exist. And then we're going to add in here new folder name, and we're going to look for new folder name. So when we do the move, you'll see new folder down here got changed to new folder name. Does new folder exist? Nope. Does new folder name exist? Yes. When we want to get a list of the names of the files, we can use GetFiles, or the names of the directories, we can use GetDirectories. And these work like this. They return an array of string. I'm going to put in here some other options. You could run this like with just the path. It would give you everything that's in the path. Or you could put a search pattern in for like .cs files, and I'll do that too. So this is going to be everything. But you could put .cs files. You could search for all directories. Say in here you just wanted to look for bin files, okay? And we're going to drop this all the way down to the deep dive directory. So this is going to give us a lot more information. So if we run this, and we were just to go get the files that end in .cs, you're going to see there's 612 of them. So I'm going to double click on files to show you this. Hit Control, Alt, and Q, and we can open this up some. And they all have CS as an extension. All right, so you can use these while keys. If you want to just get the bin pass, you look at the directories, there's only 55 of them, but you'll see there's where all the bin files are, bin folders are. So let's continue with file, and we're going to go back up to the data directory, back down to the data directory, I guess I should say, which is going to consist of folder 1 and folder 2, and that's where we're going to be doing our work. So the first thing I want to do is I want to see if folder 2 exists and contains a new file.txt. If it does, I want to get rid of the new file.txt. I also want to get rid of the new file name. This will clean up our test area or our work area. Now, if file does not exist for a new folder, new file.txt, I'm just going to create one. And we're going to go in there, we're going to say, see it exists, we're going to delete it. Because I want these here to both be totally 100% empty. So let's put a breakpoint right here, and we'll walk down what this does. The file has the exist, delete, copy, move, read lines, read all lines, write all lines, read all text, and write all text. And the latter of them I am not a real big fan of. All right, and we'll get into that in a minute. So does the file exist? Does not. So it does not, so we're not going to delete. Does this file exist? It does not. We're not going to delete. Does this file not exist? And it does not. So we're going to have to do a file create. Now, one very important thing here is if you do, the file create's going to return a file stream. And any time that you create or open a file, if you do not call close, that file is not closed and you will not be able to access it through your system. So we're going to write here, does the new file exist in folder 1? Let me bring this down here. All right. So that comes out as a true. Does the new file exist in folder 2? And it does not. So we're going to do a copy. Well, here's a copy from folder 1 to folder 2. For the copy method, you have to put the full name in from where you're at within the current directory. Remember, our current directory is in data, so we're fine just doing it like this. And we're going to override it if it exists. And then we're going to see folder 1 exists and folder 2 exists. And if we go and we look, this saves this time of us doing this to go in and actually physically looking. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset everything. We're going to stop this and we're going to comment out this close. And now we're going to run it again. And it will say, does new file exist in folder 2? It does, so we delete. Is new file name exist? No. Does file 1 not exist? Well, it does exist, so we're going to delete that because I really want to get into this here. And now we're going to create it, but we're not closing it. If we go back down to here, you will see file 1 exists, folder 2 new file does not exist, so we're going to do a copy. But when we go to copy, it says the process cannot access this because it's being used by another process. And that process would be us, okay, because we never closed it. That's why this is very important to close these things. Now, if you throw this in a using statement like this will also close it, so you don't need this. So let's run through that scenario. Let's go back to folder 1. We're going to delete the new file, so we'll create it again. And we don't need to be checking these anymore because the new file did not get copied. So now when we do this with the using statement, see, folder 1 new file exists, folder 2 new file exists. We're going to make the copy, and it copies no problem. The using statement, now this is not true of anything before .NET Core, like version 5 of .NET. This did not close. That was a big myth that nobody took serious, and we just always ran close anyway. So the next thing is going to say folder 1 new file exists, folder 2 new file exists. Now that's copy. The next thing we're going to talk about is the move. So I'm going to comment this portion out right here, and we're going to restart this. So when we get down to move, you're going to see that folder 1 does exist and folder 2 does not exist. As you can see, folder 2 is empty and folder 1 is not. Okay. So when we do the move, it's going to move it out of folder 1 and it's moving it into folder 2. So now if you watch this, it's going to say folder 1 new file exists. It's going to run file exists on the folder 1 new file. And it's going to say no. And folder 2 is going to say true. All right, so it did get moved. Now if we come down a little further and we say folder 2 new file exists, all right, yeah, we just ran through these two, but new file name does not exist. So when you move this from new file to new file name, the name changed to new file name, and of course file text does not exist and file new name does exist. Now you could have moved this from here and changed the name. So it doesn't matter where you're doing the move. You can change the name either locally or on the remote drop.
Hey, if you think there's too much information to remember, then like and subscribe to the channel. Then you'll have a URL that you can go back and look at anytime.
Now, there are some close cousins to these classes, and they're called the info classes. They give a lot more attributes than the file and the directory, but you lose some of the environment manipulation that is available in the directory class. Not the directory info, but the directory class. Path works with strings, so it can be used on the info attributes as well as the non-info classes. So directory info looks like this. Okay, it's actually a class. It's an encapsulated form of directory. So if you create a directory info new folder, you can say folder 1 new folder. Now folder 1 does not have a new folder in it, as you can see down here at the bottom, and folder 2 does not have a new folder in it, and new folder name is not there. So we're going to say new folder name. None of these are here, but you can still instantiate them. Okay, so they all are here and they all have a lot of information on them. So these are the things what usually developers go looking for, because once you get this, you don't have to go look at path or anything else to say, give me my last access time or full name. It's already provided for you. Now these don't even exist. So you can see exists here, it says false. It's not there. None of these are. So exists is false, exists is false, exists is false. So now we're going to actually create that folder. So now we're going to create this new folder, and you'll see it appear down here in the bottom, right down here, like that. So now new folder appears. So now we can check this new folder exists, and it says true. Does new folder exist in number 2? Nope. So we're going to do a move. So the way you do this is you say, let's just take the method that's built into the directory info. So move to, and then you're going to say the new folder file full name. Now, this is where things get a little different. All right. If we do not refresh this, this is going to say new folder still exists, and new folder 2 is going to say it does not exist. You can see down here that new folder is not in folder 1, but it is in folder 2. And this is one of the bigger things that mess with people's brains is, why do I need to refresh? Well, move to, in my opinion, also should have changed refresh new folder 1, and this shouldn't be taken in a full name. It should be just taken a new folder, and it should have refreshed new folder 2. So we'll refresh both of them, and upon doing so, when we run these next lines of code, they'll both exist. Now, that doesn't make any sense, right? We moved it. It's literally not there. But you got to understand that when you did that move, that also updated the full name of folder 1, new folder, to folder 2. Okay, so these are things you got to kind of look out for. But this is good because now you don't have to go back and remap this new folder 2. So, new folder exists. Does new folder name exist? No. But when we do the rename here, we're going to say D2 new folder to D2 new folder name. And again, we're going to refresh D2 new folder and refresh D2 new folder name. And again, you're going to get both of these exist. So anytime you're doing a move to, you definitely need to refresh. Okay, no matter what, you need to refresh. Since the directory info doesn't have a copy to, because there's a lot of things you got to think about if you're copying a directory. Say that directory has thousands of directories in it and thousands of files in all these directories. That copy is got to keep a lot of information in mind. So this is something that the .NET team figured out. Let's just take this and let the developer decide how to do that. Now that you've met directory info, let's take a look at FileInfo, which is its cohort. Basically, FileInfo, the way it works is pretty much the same as directory info. So you create a FileInfo class and you instantiate it with the file that you want in that class. It too has exists and delete, so we can go through and check these out. And it also will check to see is there a new file in folder 1, and we can create it. Again, remember, use a using or close that file stream. You still need to refresh them. The nice thing about the file is you can copy them. All right, you cannot copy a directory. Now, we'll get to that in a little bit. But a file you can copy and you can move. So the same kind of deal is going on. So I'm just going to put a breakpoint down here after copy because pretty much this works the same way as the directory. And we're going to stop this and we're going to restart it. So we just made a copy of the new file from folder 1 to folder 2. Not that big of a deal. Folder 1, folder 2. The difference comes here is with the move to. Again, just like the other files, when you do a move to, it's going to move that file from point A to point B. The difference with the file info is it works just like the directory info. If we do a move to here, and then we check the file, it's going to be pointed to the new location because it knows that you moved it. So then you do the refresh, so both of these are going to appear. So new file, sorta, it's not really there. If you look at it, it's actually folder 2. And likewise with the rename, if you rename new file to new file name, initially new file name will not be there. You do the move to, you refresh new file name, and new file says it exists because, well, it changed the file path inside of the file info to go to the new location. We're going to finish up the DriveInfo, and then we're going to kind of go back around how you can use these tools. So the DriveInfo is pretty simple. If we put a breakpoint here in DriveInfo and we run this, you'll see that DriveInfo, we're going to say, is new D. Now DriveInfo will look at drive D and it will tell you everything about it. It'll tell you the size, the total free space you have, what's the root directory, its name, is it ready, what type of drive it is, what format it is, the label, and available free space. So you don't even have to do a subtraction on this. If you want to get the root directory of it, you can just say di is equal to root directory, and that's pretty much all you can do with it. All right, you can watch these things. You can sit there and say, okay, I want to look at the DriveInfo and keep an eye on the total size and free space if I'm copying files to it. Check the free space, make sure you have enough room to fit. So that's all you can do with these. They're just a thing to collect data from. You can't change anything out here. You can't change the volume later. These are all read-only. Now there's 2 different ways to get a list of directories. And we're going to kick this back to the deep dive side again. I showed you this up at the top when we're working with directory, and I'm going to just refresh this here with a couple more options on it. So you can do a directory get files, which will just get the files in the current directory, or you can give it some sort of search criteria and get all the directory, search through all the directories, or you can just say on top directory. Pretty simple stuff. The problem is with using just directory, and I'm just going to put a breakpoint here, is you probably already guessed it, is that you only get a list of the file names. So this is fine. This is totally 100% fine. It uses a lot less memory. If you wanted to come in here and you wanted to say you were looking for something specific, I would head this route right here, and I would get something specific out of it or get it as down as close as I can. But if you want to get a list of everything from the beginning, like you want a directory info, new path, this will give you everything back. So if we run this like this, and I'll show you the difference between the 2 of these. So this one here just provides strings, okay? Files are just strings. If you go to this file array, you're going to get details. All right, we're not going as deep. But you can also put in here, all directories like this if you want. And we can run this again. So you get the same stuff back. It's just that this has a lot more detail. Like you can't do this on the get files from just directory. So that is something that's really cool. Again, if you're just looking for the file names, I wouldn't bother going this route. But if you don't have a lot of stuff to go through, this is a really good way of getting information. So last thing for this video I'm going to show you is how to read all text and read all lines. And this is kind of the shortcut way. I'm not going to lie to anyone. It's going to read it all into a string, or it's going to read it all into a list of strings. Typically, I don't do this. I usually use stream writers and stream readers, but this one here shows kind of promise. Again, this is for small files. If you're doing something that has very big files, you're going to have to use a stream. So the path is going to be set to path combine, and we're going to be in the data directory, which is right here. Workshop, code, deep dive, manipulation, data. So that's where we're going to be. I will set the the path there. This way we don't have to put the entire string in here. Source path is going to be the path plus the text file, path plus the text file 2, and this one's going to read from text file 1, and this one's going to read from text file 2. Now, I will tell you, whoever the developer was that wrote read all text and write all text wins the correct code award. The read lines and write all lines, whoever wrote this, and it has to do specifically with the write all lines, loses the award for correct code because they add a blank line. Now I'm going to show you here. Here's text file 1 has 3 lines. Text file 2 has 3 lines. All right. If you run this, and we're going to take it down one at a time. This is all the path combined, so you guys should understand that. This pulls in the S, and you get file 1, carriage return line feed, file 2, carriage return line feed, file 3. When you write it back out, it's going to tell you, hey, this file was updated, Visual Studio will, and you're going to say yes, and then you're going to see there's file 1, file 2, file 3. Nothing is wrong here. Now, when you go to read lines, you're going to read in the lines, and you're going to get 3. So there's nothing wrong with this, right? And this is going to be lines because you're going to write all lines back out. And when you write this one, Visual Studio will tell you, hey, text file 2 was updated. Do you want to reload it? Yes. You go here, and now you have 4. Now, if you're okay with this is fine because you can pull this back up here, and the next time you read it, you'll still get the 3, which is kind of odd. Like they're trimming off a blank line at the end or the last line because they're assuming that this is going to be here. Okay, like when you write it again, they're assuming it's always going to have a blank line. So if we add a blank line and save it, and we go back up to the top, and we write it again, you're going to get that blank line, and then you're going to get the extra blank line. Now, this is not bad, but I want to know who's the person that did this because now they're bringing in a blank line. So what if you wanted a blank line at the end? Well, your file's got to have 2. So anyway, there is a way to correct this, and I'm going to be putting a video together on stream readers. And there's going to be another video because I know the big question is in this is how do you copy a directory? Because there's no copy directory function. The only way to do that is using a recursive method or group of methods. There's one recursive method and there's a method that calls that recursive method. And the recursive method video will be the next video coming out.
Thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, please drop them down in the comments. If you're looking for a way to copy directories, all right, there is no copy directory method, and I'm going to get into this in the very next video. Now, I usually do these videos about a couple weeks in advance, so if you want that video, please drop me a line and I'll send you a link for that video. And it explains how to do recursive programming with methods. It's a skill set that they just don't teach anymore. And I talked to developers for the last 10 years that had no idea what they were. And then when they saw them, they thought, wow, that's really cool. And then they want to code everything in it. You don't want to code everything in recursion. If you need that information, drop it in the comments or send me an email. The tools that you learn in this can help you automate a lot of manual processes, and I hope you guys take these and actually start automating your processes and stop doing them manually. Even if you're doing them during your day work at job, you have a possibility of screwing them up. It's called human intervention, okay? Whenever you're doing something, you can screw it up. You can mistype something, you copy something wrong. I've seen it a million times. I've seen people that have literally wiped out databases with manual intervention. So you're always welcome back here in the C# workshop. If you have any kind of topics that you're interested in, drop them in the comments or send me an email. And as always, have a nice day.